Here I am. How y'all doing? Stephen Williams here in a conference room hanging out. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the Behind the Veil series. For those of you, if this is your first time hanging out with me, I appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much. I don't take it for granted. And for those of you who are reoccurring, thank you so much for coming back. Listen, somewhere down there, subscribe, and get the notification for this Behind the Veil series. When I started this process out, I was talking about fighting to be fit. And what I found out was there's 4 areas for the rest of my life that I know I can do. And that is be focused in my fitness, in my finances, and in my faith. And if I can fight in those areas, and continue to do that, then I could lose some weight, find my ab, and find my money, and my mind, and my faith. All right, and so today, I have 3 things that I really want to talk about, and I want to discuss three things that I think are pertinent in this week. I thought I was going to be able to have my interview set up, but I had an encounter this weekend, and I wanted to share with you some stuff that's happening behind the veil. All right, so stay with me. And so there are 3 different areas. There are 3 different areas that's really happening in this particular thing. There are 3 different areas that's really happening. And one of them was learning the passion. So you've heard me talk about the passion, knowing what your passion is and knowing what your gift is. And so my son was able to come home and share some time. He lives in the Raleigh-Durham area. And my son was able to come home and we shared some time together. And as we were beginning to talk, I was telling him how I have grown to appreciate my passion and what is happening with my gift. So he was asking and we were sharing, and I was telling him that the gift inside of you is really the only place where you're going to find purpose and peace. And for years, trying to live according to anybody else's rules. Now, this is twofold. When you try to live for somebody else's rules, one way, and then the other way is when you're trying to prove a point to somebody. So you have to know the balance of what's inside of you. And I shared with him that when I got in complete control or in complete touch with my giftedness, my desires, my abilities, and I tapped into those abilities, there is an overwhelming sense of peace. There's an overwhelming sense of love and appreciation for me, myself, where I am. Because this whole thing, if I can talk to you, before you can satisfy anybody else, before you can do anything else, you have to be able to be satisfied within yourself. And living someone else's dreams and living someone else's fantasies or living someone else's desires based on your ability is, at best, it's going to be frustrating. And so once you figure out who you, and I know it seems complicated. I mean, it seems simple. And it's like, well, I know who I am. Well, there are a lot of people who think they know who they are, but they haven't even come in contact with their real gift. And do you remember years ago where there was this thing called the law of attraction? And I think Oprah was doing it, and it was this law of attraction. Think about it, think this. And I shared with him, it was not until I got completely comfortable with who I am that things were beginning to be attracted themselves to me. My money, my peace, my opportunities, love of self, love of food, love of exercise, love, this whole notion now is coming to me in all different directions. Because once you get into who you are, there is this thing heavenly that it just opens up a portal for you to become all that you need to become. See, I believe this, by me being a man of faith, I believe this, that if God has thoughts towards you and they are not of evil, out of Jeremiah, but they are good to bring you to an expected end, then the one thing he's doing is he's waiting for you to agree with what he made you. Agree with the gifts that's inside of you. And I was sharing with him, you can't abandon your gifts. We both sing, we both write music, and I think he is Stephen Williams 2.0, or to the 10th power, if you will. I think he's that gifted. But what we were sharing is that everybody can't sing. Everybody can't hear the melodies in their head. Everybody. There are a lot of people who are gifted, who can write music and sing and play 20,000 instruments. But then there are a lot of people who can't. And so you have to be able to tap into who you are and not worry about the people around you. It has to be a place of center of truth, which is what God is, truth. And so when you align up with truth, man, it is so difficult for you to lie to yourself. And I share with him, there's this freedom. Doors are being opened. I'm being blessed exponentially, simply because I'm okay in my place. I've gotten comfortable in my giftedness towards God and the things of life. And so things are now beginning to attract themselves to me. And if you can figure that out, take a moment. Because what I want you to do, and I challenged him as well, which is what I do, take a week. Take once a week and sit in silence. No phone, no TV, nothing. Just sit in silence. And if you can sit there for just like 30 minutes, listen to you, listen to your dreams and your visions, know who your gift. We're moving so much that you can't hear. You're listening to everything else that you can't even hear what you're supposed to, who you really are. It is hard for people to even hear who they are. That's why others can see your greatness and you can't agree with it. That's why others can see how wonderful you are, but you yourself can't even fathom what they're saying. And it's because you don't take the time to sit down and listen to what's inside of you. Get comfortable with your gift and don't be ashamed of it. Now, in that same context, when you are okay with your purpose, the next thing I want to talk about, because I want to talk about three things. Point number 2, there are always pitfalls, whether you are in purpose or you're out of purpose. But stay with me. Pitfalls come really quick once you find your purpose. Why? Because there is an enemy out there that does not want you to find your purpose. He has lost his. And so there is this right and this wrong. There is this law of good and evil. There is this law that says, yes, I see you on that, but I'm going to create a pitfall so that you can enjoy it. Because that's the whole ultimate thing. It is about humanity. And so you have to learn how to deal with those pitfalls because they're coming. They're coming. And what he's challenging me on is, and this is number 3, and it ties into number 2 of the pitfalls. Number 3 is you got to learn your past. Somebody great, can't remember who, maybe a president, Ben Franklin, I don't know. Somebody great said you will only go as far in your future as you go in your past. And I heard that slogan years ago and didn't quite understand what it was. I thought it was, the study of history and those kinds of things. But what I've come to conclude is that the enemy does not have any tricks. Can I tell you a secret? There are no new tricks. He uses the same measuring. He is not creative. He was a created being, so he does not understand creativity. So he uses the same trick. It just comes in a different form. If you study the pattern of the past, then you'll be able to see where the pitfalls, when the pitfalls happen, you should be able to see, I need to avoid that by doing this because I saw this in the past. You understand? Because the moment you get in your purpose, the moment you get in it, there's going to be distractions galore, because there are some people who are unhappy with your success. Some people don't want you to become. Within you becomes a battle. You're going to get that from family and friends. I mean, dealing with battles within myself, trying to make me not be happy. The devil is a liar. I'm going to walk in my happiness. But this is the trick that I found out about my giftedness. Even though it is in me, I have concluded that the gift is not just for me. Stay with me. When God gave you your gift, it was never for you to just enjoy it. It was always for somebody else. It was always to encourage or build up somebody else. And when you recognize and realize that the one measuring stick for you is to be able to help somebody else with your gift. Now, the gift will benefit you, but the gifts were always meant to be supportive of somebody else. That's how God made humanity. The whole purpose of humanity is to be able to help your brother, which is why we're battling with this have and have not situation in America now, and even in third world countries. What makes them in warfare is that you have all these people who have and they don't want to give. And that is what's happening even now with the Republicans. It's a whole bunch of have, and we're not going to help anybody who does not have. But your gift was meant to be shared. Now, it wasn't meant to drag you down. It wasn't meant to keep you destitute. It was meant to make you happy. The gift is meant to make you happy and successful. But when you become selfish with that gift, you defeat the whole purpose of why you were given the gift. Why, if you were given the gift to write, then writing was not just for you. It's so that somebody else can read. If you were given the gift of song, then singing is not just for you so you can hear yourself. It is so that somebody else can enjoy it. That's with dance. That's with business. Think about it. Communicating, counseling, talking, banking is not just for you. It's the investments. It's not just for you. It was never. And it becomes a pitfall of pride. And the moment you get into pride and you get selfish and you just, I wish one of the greatest things I wish people would do is stop being insecure. Be okay. But when you don't know your purpose, when you're not comfortable with your gift, when you don't flow in it and you don't know how God or why God made you in this earth, or you're not in agreement with who you are, then you always find yourself fighting for position or jockeying for position. And you were never meant to. He's already given you a space. And you should walk in that space and do that. And so, excuse me, those are the three things. When you find purpose and you agree with it and you get familiar with it, you have to study the pitfalls. You have to make sure. And the only way to do that is go back into the past and make sure you're ready to do something great. And it's just like this whole notion. I challenged you last week. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to save $5,000. We're going to save $5,000. Everybody I know should be able to have $5,000 that you can go to and get. Put your hands on it just in case you have an emergency. And people are saying, I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't either. But I do know I've got to come up with a plan. I've got to come up with a process, and then I got to come up with a plan, and then I got to execute that plan. And it requires me, I believe, knowing my gift. Once I get into my gift, money is attracted to me. Once I'm comfortable with what I am, I'm telling you, favor is attracted. Once I walk in it and not just think about it and not just worry about what people are thinking, what they're saying, and not doing this on a thing of, oh, I'm going to show them. It's not about showing them. It's about sharing with them. You are the only person that you need to get familiar with to know, and stop being distracted. Find your silent place so that you can walk in purpose, and so that things will be attracted to you, so that you can be happy. I'm finding love. I'm finding friendship. I'm finding love for me, love for self, love for cooking. Can you imagine that? I'm learning to love to cook. I'm learning to love silence as much as I run my mouth and talk. I'm I'm learning to love my gift. I'm learning to love what I do here and share it. And it is the thing when you get comfortable, again, when you get comfortable with yourself, you're able to share that. That you're able to share who you are, and you're not afraid. You're not limited. And I don't know what the future will hold. I do know this. I'm not going to live a life that's going to be confined by anybody else's dreams or visions. Now that I know and I'm able to walk in the completeness, and I've always had my gift. I've always been my own dude to some degree. But now that I'm comfortable with my own gift, I don't have to be arrogant. My gift is here to be shared, but it's not here to be abused. And so in that same context, it's got to bless me just like it's going to bless others. That's how it was intended for it to happen. Listen, I appreciate you for hanging out with me today for Behind the Veil. I'm getting on it with my interviews. I'm excited about what's happening, but I had to share this, that once I shared with him and shared with myself as we were talking, that you got to be okay with your gift, and you got to be okay if God wants you to shine, shine. Know the season, whether or not it's background or whether or not it's foreground. But if it's ever an opportunity, don't shy away from your gift, because everybody, whatever gift you have, everybody doesn't have it. And practice your gift, work on it. And but study your past, study the past histories so that you'll understand pitfalls, because pitfalls will come to try to trick you. All right? Listen, we're going to continue to do this. We're going to continue to grow. This channel is going to continue to grow. And one of these days, we're going to have something on here that's going to blow the channel up. We're going to have 10,000 views, 100,000 views, something. And it's going to just bounce. It's going to go from one thing to the next. Watch. But I got to do what I got to do. And I'm not going to be messed up by it. Thanks for the love. Thank you so much for coming here to visit. Look, share this with your friends. Subscribe as we continue to go behind the veil and see some things, learn some things, develop and grow. I'm going to come up with some plans for us all to see if we can get this $5,000 in our account and shut some things down. Oh, I will say this. The first thing you need to do, though, is look at your budget. Find out how much money you really bring in. And I did that the other day. And I found out exactly how much I brought in, and then I found out how much I exactly put out. And when you really look at it from dollar to dollar, take a moment from dollar to dollar and look at it, it's a trip. But you're going to enjoy this process because your greatness is coming, getting your purpose, and it's going to be attractive. You're going to attract some great things. All right? Until next week, enjoy yourself. I appreciate you, and thank you for hanging out with me behind the veil.